In this video, we're going to talk about the structure of the design thinking course and how it works together. In the next video, I'll talk a bit more about the 5 skills which are listed in the last section. So first up, we have the introduction, and this is something that it's worth not skipping over. It has some important context about what design thinking is and how you can use it, some good examples about how it has been used in the past, and the kinds of questions that it could be used for. The second section introduces us to a little bit of the how of design thinking through one of the frameworks that we use most commonly, called the double diamond. Now, one thing to note here is that the diamond has 2 parts, finding the right problem and finding the right solution, and those parts should be given equal emphasis. So it's very important that we've really understood the problem and who it affects and how before we can even start thinking about the solutions. Remember, in the previous video I mentioned that many of the most magical, unexpected innovations come from understanding the problem in a new way. That takes a lot of research and insight, so it's important not to skimp on that. In the next section, we then talk about some of the tools that we use in design thinking. And this section is maybe the meat of the course. It has the stuff that you're going to spend most of the time actually doing. So the nice thing about design thinking is that as a process, it's very flexible. You can be dynamic and you can respond to the problem as it evolves and you learn more about it. The downside of design thinking is also that it's flexible. You have to use your own judgment and make decisions. And that's why we have a framework. But the more experience you have with the process, the better you can make those decisions and have a good sense of where you need to go next. Now, you'll sometimes find that through the process you'll learn something new or something changes, which means you need to go back to an earlier stage and perhaps do something again a little differently. It's really important to emphasize that this is not a problem, this is not a mistake. It's how design thinking works. We test, we learn, and we go back and iterate. In this context, going back is maybe the best way of going forwards. This is a feature of design thinking. It's how we arrive at a good solution and make sure that it's fit for the problem that we're solving. But it does mean that the process we go through can begin to look quite messy to someone standing outside it. So that is why storytelling, which is one of the skills I mentioned in the next video, comes into its own. In this video, I'm not going to go into each of the tools in detail to describe how they're used, and the text only really has an outline. So I strongly recommend you read up on each of them and maybe download some of the free online tools that exist before you put them into practice. In each case, my main advice would be think carefully about what question you're trying to answer with that tool. And does that tool answer it? Does it get you where you want to go? In the final section of the course, we go over 5 skills which are really important for design thinking. These are things which are hard to describe in a knowledge-based curriculum, but which can be put into practice through daily exercises and so on. Some of the exercises are listed in the course, but I highly recommend, as with the tools, going out and researching your own. So that's a quick roundup of the course. In the next video, we'll revisit the skills and go through each of those in a bit more detail.